Today I wanted to make a video about the installation of Linux Mint. Um, I currently have Arch Linux on my laptop, but I wanted to show people that, like, you could just put Linux Mint on pretty much anything and it's super simple. And I know that the Windows 10 date is coming up to, stop using Windows 10 completely if you're using it on a laptop or desktop. But um, I'm gonna show show you how to go through and install Linux Mint, and then like how it's like pretty much super simple, and start using Linux Mint, and it'll bring some new life to your old laptop, even if you can't install Windows 11, right? Um, this will mean like any laptop from really like even things like up to like 2007 2008 stuff that's that old. There's a different version you could run of um, Linux Mint that I'll show you as well, but I'm just going to install just a regular cinnamon edition of Linux Mint, and I'm going to pretty much show the whole process so you can start to finish watch this video and start using Linux. I use Linux Mint on my desktop. I used to use I've kind of like distro hopped on this particular Dell laptop from I used to use Kali Linux. I've used Fedora. I've used Red Hat. I've used Arch, and then now I'm just gonna simply install Linux Mint on this particular laptop because I think it's super simple. It's easy to use, and right away you have like all your drivers set up and during installation help, and just real basic to like real similar to Windows, I would say, in ways. Of course, there's some terminal stuff you need to learn. I think not much, but for the most part, I think Linux is the way to go. I've probably been using Linux at least on desktops for like well over 10 years, 10 plus years. On my main gaming PC, I just started using Linux maybe was about at least 2 years ago on my main gaming PC. But that's a lot of things to like Proton, to Wine, to there's applications where you could just straight up run certain Windows applications. Um, anyways, I wanted to make a video about this and see, you know, if you're more interested, I want to try to start making more videos like this, maybe like one a week, right? Things I'm doing on my free time, anyways, that I think would be helpful to other people, but also um, fun videos to make. And yeah, it's not gonna be too much, but hope you enjoy um, the process. Okay, so here on my desktop, I'm just gonna make a USB following the instructions here for Linux Mint. Keep it super simple. You just go to linuxmint.com. Make sure it's the legit website, of course. And then there's install instructions, which I'll be following just to set up the USB, right? It's pretty much the same like with any other, but so there's Cinnamon Edition, XFCE Edition, and Mate Edition, right? And um, so depending how old your computer is, or if you just want it super lightweight, you could use this light edition. But I'm just gonna go with the OG, regular Linux Mint. We're gonna want to download that. And then of course when that's done downloading, you're gonna want to create an ISO, and you can also verify it. And then a installation guide, right? We're just gonna create the bootable media, and then you're gonna want to go to how to make a bootable USB stick. If you're using Windows, Mac, or depending on what OS you're using, is gonna be different, right? I'm using Linux Mint right now on my desktop, so all I'm gonna do is run this under USB image writer and put the ISO that I'm not currently downloading for Linux Mint and verify, write it. And then once this is done, we're gonna go head on to the laptop and actually install this on my Dell laptop. So I'm gonna create this. So if you're following along, if you're using Windows, Mac OS, it depends what you're using, right? You can choose what you want to. You can even do a DVD, right? It's prone to errors on this, but yeah, get you a USB stick. I'd recommend at least, I would say a 32 gig stick, but you might be able to just use a 16 gig. Very inexpensive if you don't have one. And then I'm gonna show all these steps and what we're gonna go through for setup. So don't you worry. That's what I'm gonna be showing on my laptop particular. So I'm gonna create the bootable media, and then we'll get onto the laptop. Okay, so this is all we're gonna need is our USB drive that we just made for our new Linux Mint Cinnamon Edition. You can, like I said, pick any one that you want for your computer, but I'm gonna put Cinnamon Edition, the newest one, on this Dell laptop here. And the specs are like, this can do Windows 11 because it is 8th gen Intel. Nothing super expensive, nothing super fancy. Just you got hopefully you could see that. Maybe. Got one Type-C port on there, HDMI, couple USB ports, USB port over here, micro SD, headphone jack, on Ethernet jack. Just basic, nothing crazy. I really want to get a different laptop as well, but I've had this for a few years now, and it's pretty decent. And okay, hold on. Hopefully that helps a little. Okay, so I'm just gonna have a USB drive, right? I'm gonna plug that joint in. Actually, let me use one of the other ports on the other side. And then I have a Ethernet cord, because when we do install Linux Mint, we want to run the newest updates. Okay, usually depends on your computer, but let's see. Press like F12 escape, one of them, right? So yeah. keep pressing. We're gonna go, in this, we're gonna go to a boot menu. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in a little closer. Just a little hard for me to try to capture as much on-screen stuff that I can. So let's try to go a little closer, maybe a little less. Okay. Okay, so I have the scan disk. That's what we want to run. Okay. I do have a Linux partition already on here because Arch is installed currently. So this laptop is a Latitude 704090, but depending on your laptop, this could be different depending on your boot options. You would just change it to a USB drive. So I'm just gonna go ahead and change boot mode settings, which sometimes if you have secure boot on, it depends if you want it on or off. I was hoping just to go back one menu. See? Isn't this fun? We want to go back to that menu. So, and I'm just gonna do run a USB drive. Depending on your setup, that's gonna be different, right? And then this menu here is gonna be where you're gonna choose. We're gonna start. If you can see this a little better. Start Linux Mint 64-bit. Most computers nowadays are 64-bit, so don't bother getting a 32-bit. Usually for most people, 64-bit's gonna be fine. And then I'm just gonna start. We got the Linux Mint logo on here. Like I said, this is great to run on many laptops. And then we're just gonna go through the installation process. Okay, so that's gonna load up, and it's gonna be like, oh, okay, it's kind of like, you know, your basic joint, right? But we're gonna go ahead and go up to here, install Linux Mint. Okay, and then you're gonna get the setup screen. Oh, hopefully it's good. I didn't know a better way to besides record it like this, but it should be like decent. And we're gonna go continue. Just English, but you know, whatever you want it, right? And then this will be like install multimedia codecs. We're gonna need those because if we want to like watch videos and whatnot, we're gonna want that. And then continue. like I said, just still kind of running off the USB, so you had to be a little patient. And then my computer in particular says this computer is currently has Arch Linux on it. What would you like to do? And this will install Linux alongside Arch Linux, which you could do, right? You want each time the computer starts up. Or you can erase this and install Linux Mint. Right? For me, I'm gonna go ahead and install Linux Mint alongside Arch Linux. Or actually, I'm gonna erase it, right? Which is fine. You could install it along or just completely erase your disk. Most people probably erase the disk, most likely, right? So I'm just gonna erase the disk and install now. Gonna say go ahead, continue for me. Erase the disk, yes. Yes, I am the Eastern U.S. Continue. Who am I? I'm gonna put like my username is gonna be dark. Right. Pick a username. I'm gonna do a password. I'm gonna go ahead and say log in automatically because this laptop you know, it doesn't matter to me for this one. This is just like a laptop I'm gonna keep in the house pretty much. And then we're gonna start installing Linux Mint. It's not a super crazy process, but you know, the only things I really recommend is you do have Ethernet cord if possible. Just you want to keep those speeds. You don't have to worry about Wi-Fi stuff or nothing. And because we're gonna run updates and stuff as soon as it's done. But we're still running off USB currently. And then, like I said, if you can have multiple versions of Linux on your PC if you want, right? I just want a fresh version of Mint on this particular laptop, where I'm only using it for file sharing between other machines, connecting remotely to other machines, and local storage occasionally for some movies, TV shows, stuff like that. So it doesn't take too long to get onto the complete installation of Linux. That's pretty much the whole video is pretty much in real time. You know, even with mistakes or errors that you know, you press the wrong button here or there, whatever. You just basically want your USB to run first. And then if you do have like say Windows 10 on your laptop, you would just erase Windows 10 and then install Linux. Of course, back up all your files and everything beforehand. I did have Windows 10 on this machine before. I've had Windows 11 on this machine before. I've had like I said, multiple versions of Linux on this machine. But I think I'm just gonna just leave Mint on this because it's just you know, sometimes I don't use this laptop for 3 months. And then with Arch or some other distro, sometimes, not saying all the time, but there's sometimes where it's like I got to do and configure stuff just to do some basic stuff. And I really, with Mint, I know for sure it's just kind of like, all right, just start it up and you're good to go. And I really like Linux Mint. So that's my current favorite distro. But I do use Debian as a VM, and I would like to try another Arch install and mess with that. Probably on a different laptop though. I'm gonna try to get a different, maybe a ThinkPad. I've really been wanting one of those. So. And then this is just doing all the configuring for us, right? It's really depending on your hardware, all the stuff that your laptop supports, um, the whole situation. And then I'm gonna probably get to the point where we run updates in Linux Mint, and then you kind of look at this is basically the UI and everything is pretty similar to Windows. I believe I only have like a cheap 256 gig NVMe drive in here. They're 256 or 512, but I'm pretty sure it's 256. Like I said, be patient. Just we'll get there. Almost done installing, but I don't know. It pretty much has Linux Mint is pretty easy to use, and using flat hubs and other things are really great. If you don't plan on doing any like crazy, the specs on this is an i7 8th gen, 16 gigs RAM, 256 NVMe, and that's really it. Like a pretty basic laptop. And then we're gonna restart now. And then we're gonna remove the USB drive that we had. Press enter. Now it should just have Linux Mint installed on this machine. And then I chose to log in automatically. Here we go. Welcome to Linux Mint. Okay, let's go. you can choose to do all these things, right? Your driver manager, we're gonna go ahead and launch that. No drivers needed, but it's good to check right away. Update manager, we're gonna go ahead and launch that. We're gonna say okay. Say apply update. Go ahead and type in the password you had. It says select all, but all of them should be checked. We're gonna install updates now, right away. You're gonna want to install updates right away as soon as you launch Linux Mint. So this is just part of the setup. And then this is a good reason why I have other connected, right? Because then we can download our stuff just a little faster. And this basically does everything for you. It's updating everything that you need and everything that's going to be like installed, right? You're going to have your Firefox out of the box. All your applications are the newest version, security patches, whatever it is. This is what you want to run. Make sure you run this when you first set up Linux Mint on your computer. Because no matter if you just installed the very new version, you still want to run updates, drivers, and occasionally, if you're running Linux, you want to run this. I'd say at least, it's up to you really, but I would do at least once a month. Unless something, you don't want to mess with it or whatever, don't even worry about it. If you don't want to with Linux. But I suggest you try to run updates every so often. Especially if you're having issues. If you run into issues, then update. That's kind of the model, right? Like I said, it's going to be patience. There's probably going to be, it might want to ask you to do restart, but if not, your system's up to date. Cool. You can change system settings if you want now. Software manager. You can enable in firewall if you want. I would do software manager. And software manager is basically a bunch of where you can find a bunch of flat packs. What are flat packs? Applications, if you're familiar with Windows and stuff. It's basically similar to that. And you kind of get updates when you run updates. I'm going to uncheck that so this doesn't pop up when I launch. And then you can install tons of things from here. A lot of your basic applications to, your top favorite whatever. VLC, right? I don't have VLC, so I'm going to simply click install, continue. It's going to ask you for your password. Say install. I know I'm going to want one that's Discord, right? Go here, install. Yep. And that's basically it. And then you got your applications just like you would on like Windows, right? You got your file explorer just like you would on any other computer. Desktop, home, documents, all that. Yeah, so that was installing Linux Mint. And I don't feel like it was difficult. I don't think it was like super time consuming. Yes, it does take a little bit of time, patience, do updates, run driver updates, get your installation media set up. But all together, this is pretty much the whole process. And I think generally, I just want to talk about why I prefer Linux and why I want to continue using Linux, and hopefully share with other people that just use Linux. And if something doesn't work on Linux, there's ways to kind of manipulate and use applications and stuff off GitHub to work around being able to make it so there isn't limits. And you're in control of all your data, do set up backups to what applications you're using. This was just a simple basic install of Linux Mint to get you going, but there's so much to deep dive into in the Linux community. But I really love using it. And on desktop, on laptops, Linux I think is really, really good. And I think that's where it really shines, but on desktop it's great too. And using both for so many years, it really opens up to where you're not in some big company in control of you and what you're doing on your computer as far as your operating system. You got it. You're taking care of all your applications and as you please. And there's not just big alterations and privacy concerns as much. There's always those concerns when something connects to the internet, but less concerns about that, and you're just using your computer how you want to use it. And I think that's really the key. And yes, maybe you have to do some tinkering with things sometimes, but that's with any computer, especially if you're using Windows, you still got to mess around with things occasionally here and there and do certain different weird stuff to get certain things to work depending on what you're doing on your computer. And it's just a really good operating system that I think way more people should use. Like, why not? Like, you could run a lot of games. The only games that don't work are anti-cheat. So I could see some people that are real big into video games, right? Be like, well, these games don't work because of anti-cheat. And it's like, yeah, I could see your point there. There is some people that do dual booting, but that could cause issues once there is certain Windows updates that run. That could cause issues. I've seen that where, and then it makes you like wipe both of your OS drives, which that sucks. And who wants to keep installing their OS constantly, like just to get to play like probably less than 10 to 15 games maybe. I don't think it's worth it. There's plenty of games that work on Linux that are multiplayer, that just work. So I I don't think that's a reason. And it's like you can use certain Windows applications you can use on Linux anyways. There's workarounds. There's Wine. There's Protons you can use. There's applications like WinBoot app. There's a bunch of different situations where like you could use Windows still, but I'd say like get used to Linux and like learn the top like 20 commands on terminal. If you learn, I'm telling you, if you learn like the top 20, just at least the top 20 commands, it makes things easier if you're trying to do certain things on Linux. But Linux Mint helps you kind of like where it's not like completely you have to use terminal all the time or nothing. There's certain stuff you might have to use it once in a while occasionally. But learn like the top 25 commands to use on Linux, and that will help you a lot as well. And I don't know, this I've been wanting to make this video for a while, to get back into, especially to try to be making, I want to try to make at least one video a week of some type of tech video that I'm interested in, or something's going on in my life that I want to share. And this has been one that I'm like, man, I want to just show people. It's super simple. Like you can get into Linux and be like, set up your whole workflow, and your creativity and gaming and whatever you're trying to do. You can set it up, and it's not like this really like challenging. Oh my God, it's so hard, and I'll never understand it, or don't get Linux, or I can't figure it out. It's like, no, you can, because it's I'm just trying to show you like you could learn it and be like, man, I enjoy this more than using a Windows computer. And especially the Windows 10 end of life is like probably right around the time I put out this video, if not a couple days before, somewhere around the time. It is October, so I think this, at least any people in my community that enjoy. I've been streaming. If that's a concern for people out there, I've been streaming for years using Linux. There is some certain Linux devices and tweaks and things you gotta be aware of with streaming, right? But like I've used 3 different monitors, all different refresh rates. I've used it on laptops, right? On touchscreen laptops. I haven't had a different one right now, but I've had touchscreen laptops work fine. It's just desktops, everything. It's just, man, why not? Like if you got an older laptop, I'm talking like 10, 15 years old, you can put Linux on it and bring some new life to it. And if like you're like, man, Windows was really bogging it down and wasn't running great anyways on Windows 10, say, or you were, be like, well, Linux, it would run probably better. Most likely it uses less resources. Yeah, I just hope anyone that's interested in Linux gets into it and sees it's not super challenging and wants to try different things. Like I said, even if you don't want to try it, try a virtual machine, or you could install a dual boot with Windows at first if you want, right? You don't, just You don't have to deep dive into it. I would, because it's like, hey, just start using Linux. Like, yeah, but you know, it's a cool OS if you're getting into it, and there's so many customizable things you can do with it. And then if you just want to use it, like I'm using this laptop just for some basic file transfers, remoting into other machines, local storage for some music and movies when I don't have an internet connection, going camping and uh, going way up north and stuff for a long time, for a week at a time sometimes, or a few days. It's nice to have some movies where you don't need internet connection. Um, but all that works, and it's great. So, anyways, this is a video to hopefully get people into Linux and realize, yeah, anybody could put it on a laptop or desktop and use it as a computer. It's not too difficult. So, anyways, I'll see you on the next one. And um, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm going to try to really keep up on, try for one tech video a week. And tech, video game, that type of video is kind of the content I want to go making. And it's like, because I really enjoy doing these type of things, and I'm doing these type of projects where just installing like a OS or whatever it is. I would like to share that with other people and see if, you know, if other people are interested. Comment, like the video, you know. And I'm gonna just keep trying to make some tech videos, stuff I'm interested in, stuff I like. And hopefully, you know, maybe if you don't know about these things, or you do know about it, it's something I enjoy sharing with people. So I try to keep up making a few videos a month, at least like 3 to 4 videos a month probably. Yeah. You can follow me on Twitch. I do live streaming 2 to 3 days a week, and I'm trying to make some YouTube videos. People willing could join Discord if you want. And it's just a little community of you're into video games, music, and movies, pretty much. Come join. I play all types of video games, really. So thank you for checking a YouTube video out again. You know, see ya.